There it is.
Elegant weapon, but a more civilized age.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an Elegant Weapon episode 392. My name is J.M. Clark, Jay the Jedi Ross Jedi Jay, and as always, it is so wonderful to have all you beautiful babies here with us in the High Walker studio. It's good to be back, everybody. Hope you got your cuppas ready. Oh, beautiful. A little bit of orange pico in the evening. Hope you all got your refreshments ready. Look at this. I got this recently. Batman 89 Zippo. How's that? That ain't easy to find. And of course, it's out of fluid. That's the way we start things, kids. But we always go back to the Bic. I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everybody's doing awesome tonight. It's good to be back. Hope everybody's safe and with everyone they love and all that good stuff. Positive sentiment around. We're hanging out tonight, kids, with our friends. This may, in fact, in the history of an Elegant Weapon, be the single most fittest podcast I have ever put together, which is kind of crazy. Everybody who knows the show and knows me has paying any attention, been on a bit of a fitness kick the past year or so. Phase 1, which was Fight Club, was accomplished. We got real lean. We got a little cut. We're doing our thing. So now we have begun Phase 2, Captain America, which means we're going to be working on a little bit of our bulk up action. I've actually managed to book into the gym, believe it or not, 4 days in a row, which these days with COVID and everything is pretty much next to impossible. Every morning I'm there at like 6 a.m. on the website, just refresh, trying to reserve a spot. Every morning it's like a war between a whole bunch of people. So I'm lucky I've got in there. Shout out to Crunch Fitness up here on Hamilton Mountain. It's a good time, good people. The reason why I say that we have such a fit event going on right here, you know what? Let's take a moment because I'm going to expand this and you're all going to hear it and I'm going to mute it. Okay, so a bunch of strapping, handsome fellas are joining us here this evening. Mr. Bob Salley out of Boston over there. Bob, you like to keep fit yourself, don't you? You're looking quite svelte these days.
You know, it's therapy. I think we all need to go in there and just not have to think about stuff. You know, you just put the music on and do it.
So do you go to a gym or are you home?
I do. I go to a gym. Yeah, it's a big gym and they limit the amount of people that can go in there.
Yeah, we're at 10 right now.
Everybody wears masks, social distance, like all the equipment is, you know, they got rid of like half the equipment. So it's like, you know, all the where you had rows and rows of, you know, ellipticals and, you know, the running machines. It's like just boom, separate. So
how many people?
But it's an awesome gym. Like there's just meatheads in there, which I love them. And you watch them work out and like just watching them work out is motivation in itself, you know, where you're like, if that guy can do this to be like a Incredible Hulk, you know, like I can pick up a little bit of heavier weight today.
Right. Yeah. It's a little bit motivating, right?
But then, you know, working with Ken, you know, where he's always posting his running and, you know, and then it makes me feel like I'm running slow. And then he's like, but it's like, you're a fireman. Like you have to run with like a person on you.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You're out of the Boston area as well there, Ken. And you are in fact a firefighter, meaning you're probably a little in shape. Yeah.
It's not required. We got some pretty fat guys in the kind of fat slob firefighter from like Something About Mary in the beginning. They have the fat slob fireman that comes in and separates the franks and beans.
How often do you have to like show that you're like physically capable of performing the job? Is there like a retest or a?
No, not here. No.
Really? So you just get the job, let yourself completely safe. Go.
I could tell stories for days, but we won't.
A 48-year-old man who passed his test 20 years ago.
Pretty much, yeah. It could be.
I love it. Hey, seniority, right?
That's what it's there for.
So we also got from our own neck of the woods over here, the one, the only, the ultimate beast mode savage of a human being, Mr. Fearless Fred Kennedy. How are you tonight, Fred?
good, man. You reminded me. I didn't book my spot for next Friday morning at the gym, and now I'm waitlisted. I forgot to do it, and then I heard you talking about booking. I was like, "Oh man, I could do that too."
See,
So
it sucks, right? You'll look, it'll be like I have to do mine 22 hours before. So
we got a week. It's a week.
You can
1
do
week
that?
exactly. So if you're in at 9 a.m. on Friday, you got to book at like between 9 and 9:05 the week before, because it's a small little boutique gym, and like you're
okay.
saying, only 10 people allowed in, so everyone's scrambling for those times.
Is this Heroes?
Yeah, train like heroes. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, ours is
Pardon?
say again?
No, it's pretty insane that you have to book that far out, a whole week away.
Yeah, but it's like what's great though is that only the soft cocks don't ever bother booking. So everybody that's like anybody that's there wants to be there. And so we're running like group classes, and it's everyone's like chirping and calling each other out to like go harder, and it's awesome. Like the vibe in there right now is like there's no, because sometimes you get in there and there's like the one guy who signs up to do like this hit class, and he's really only there because he wants to do like some bench press, and it's like that guy's gone. It's like everybody that's in there is like going all out on their deadlifts, and the next they're going all out on their thrusters, and it's like everyone's just going. It's awesome. It's a great vibe right now.
I've kind of seen that too. It's funny though that we have to do it. Like you can't go beyond the 22 hours. So every day at that time, literally, you know, there's dozens of people sitting at their phones or at their laptops and on a daily basis trying to book in just for the next day. And it's fucking maddening, I tell you.
It's the crucible, man.
You try to work out at home, but it's just not the same. You know what I mean?
We could work out online together. We were supposed to do that in the summer. We'll work out, me and you. We'll
it
do
was
online.
cool
It'll be
though,
great.
because after you came on the show, we had that fitness episode, and I was just wanted to like kind of talk about the whole thing and our like techniques and stories and everything. And you came ready to go. You came like you had your camera set, you were dressed, you were ready to go. And I felt so bad because I would have totally been ready to go. But then you kind of started doing something cool after that, where you're kind of doing like, was it every Wednesday or something? You were kind of doing a little like kind of fitness video you were putting out on the Instagram?
It was like trying to do like some social content for my day job at Q107, just doing like a fitness video and not doing like a workout, but showing exercises that you can do at home with really simple gear and focusing on like the techniques, like the big four, like the things that people say they're going to do and then they do them all wrong, and how you can really get hurt, but like really simple, strict motions and movements like that, but with not a lot of gear was the focus of those.
I want to, when things get back to normal, I really want to come out and have a session at your gym, because between you and Dave Bishop and everything I see online, people just love that spot. Like it's a super motivating like joint that people just love going to. Yeah.
There's one squat rack with all kinds of really cool Neil Adams art in front of it.
Really?
That's my jam. That's where I go to. It's way better than the one with a mirror. Like that's the best one.
Come on, man. That's cool. That's cool. So, Bob, you've brought us all together tonight for some sort of particular celebration. Tell us what's going on, Bob.
Well, I mean, the celebration, I guess you could say, is the book that Ken and I finally finished, and we did a Kickstarter for that ended back in February of 2020, is finally getting delivered to people like this week. So it's been unreal how long, you know, COVID backed this book up. This book has been like, I think it was in China. It was on a ship. It was on a deserted island with Tom Hanks. It got off.
Is that what the delays were? It was just like shipping and like.
Yeah, well, it was just, I think like during COVID, like nothing was coming out of China.
Yeah.
So there's no way to get the book out. And I mean, obviously, because like, you know, with Kickstarters, we've all backed them. You can post updates, you can talk to the backers. So we were in constant contact with all the backers. We were, most of them, except, you know, like my best friends that, you know, aren't even into comics. They're just buying it because like they're trying to support me. Like they're the only ones that like were giving me a hard time. But everybody was really cool. Everybody understood, you know, the way the world was right now. And, you know, we said like, you know, it's overseas and we can't, like, it's not coming out, but we'll keep them updated. And then when it did though, when it finally did like leave the country in a shit, like, you know, the shipping freighter, it was like, you know, it left China. It ended up in like the Philippines, Like
Around the
finally,
world.
it was like, we got word that tomorrow it is going to be, in a port in California, and then like the next day it's like, nah, it's gonna be tomorrow, and then every day was like next week, and it was like, does anybody know where these books are?
When the books finally showed up, was it like you saw in like the old movies and stuff where it just had like stamps and stickers from like every different state and country?
Every country,
like an old trunk.
Exactly.
Somehow it went through Antarctica.
But it's been an awesome, like, honestly, like going through all of that, like it's been an awesome week because people like are posting pictures of it. The book, I mean, like you've seen it, like the cover is a Nick Dragato cover, and it looks amazing. It's my first hardcover. Ken, I believe it's your first hardcover. It's like kind of special having a hardcover.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't realized you haven't had a hardcover by now.
Right, and it's
despite all the stuff
exclusive.
you
Like
put
I
out.
got people saying, like people are seeing it and they're like, "How can I get that?" And I'm like, that was a one-time like exclusive to Kickstarter. It was basically like our way of, we had the book was done, and we just were like, let's get it out to people. Like rather than waiting, 2 years to put it out in Previews World, like let's do a 15-day Kickstarter.
Right.
And just like kind of like a no frills. Like I got this Nick Dragato cover. Like he okayed us to use it for a Kickstarter. I was like, let's just make it special. And again, like people are getting it. Travis told me, he said he was like, it's one of the best books that we've put together that I've seen. Like it looks amazing. Like, Josh put in all these little extra little bells and whistles in it. Like the experience of the book, I think is going to be really nice.
Josh has been doing some cool stuff lately, man. There's a few things that I've seen that he's been kind of pushing his creative boundaries there, and there's been some cool results coming out of it,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the book we're talking about, Shelter Division, which has a bit of a history to it. So why don't you tell us where that book came from, what it spun out of, and the universe it exists in?
Yeah. So Shelter Division, I was writing Salvagers, and the artist that I was working with, he took like 8 months to do one issue. So, I'd write the script and he'd have it. And then, so I wrote the whole first volume of Salvagers, but like, any writer, you're like, all right, as I'm waiting for this art to come in, I wanted to write something. And I had 3 different like ideas of stories that none of them were really clicking. I had one story I wanted to tell about this alien that was stranded on Earth. And he saw like it was like a prison for him because he knew how big the universe was, and he wasn't anybody special in like his alien culture, but being here on Earth, like he was like one of the most, like he was just so super intelligent,
Right.
but it just wasn't working for me. And then I had a few other ideas, and then one day I just thought like if I put them all together and they all just seemed to work as sub characters in a bigger story, so I called it Shelter Division, where it was these characters that didn't really have a place in our society that joined this government organization, like the secret government organization, as refuge or sanctuary. But as the story goes on, you see that it's not really what it seems. It's not, the secret government organization, although, some of the characters see it differently than others. One character might see it as sanctuary, and these are the my family, where the other one is looking at everybody as these are my wardens, these are my prison guards. So as I wrote it, and and like as I outlined it, it was really interesting to me to see how one entity or one organization could be viewed so differently by different characters, and then expand on like who those characters are and like what their backgrounds are and where they came from and why they feel that way, why they feel so different about this organization.
Right.
So I started working on the book, and this was, I didn't have a publisher for it. And I had just started talking to Gary Reed, and he told me, he was like, you should really talk to Source Point Press. And then, that's when, C2E2, first time I met you.
That was the best year, man. That was my first year out there, and that was magical. And it felt weird because you were off at the booth for that other publisher you were with, and Source Point wasn't too far away. and it was weird because every
No,
time
they were like, I could see them.
I met you, we hit it off. You were awesome. And then everybody else met you and hit it off. So it was weird every time to walk by you because it kind of almost felt already like you should have been over there with us.
Should have been over there.
And every time you looked at you, you were kind of like peeking around the corner.
Oh God, I remember.
Like, I
I
should be
remember
over
being
there.
there, and I remember thinking like I saw what they were doing, and I thought exactly that. Like I thought I was like, that's where I want to be over there.
Yeah. Which
so then I pitched the book. I pitched the idea to Travis, and he loved it. And then later on, he was kind of like, so when are you thinking like we can maybe bring salvagers over? And I was just like, I was like they were really horror. And I didn't think that he would even want salvagers because it was sci-fi. But then he said he was like, we want to really start expanding on it. I gotta say hi to my mom. My mom just said hi to me.
I saw that there too. And just let me say, kids, lately, once in a while, the Zoom's been cutting out. If it does and one of us or all of us freeze, just give it 10 seconds. I click over, I press a button, I click back, and then it's good to go. So anybody watching, anybody involved, you guys just know if that happens,
Drina
just
and
wait a
Crystal
second.
Hope and my mom.
Yes, it's Drina, Crystal, Lori. That's your mom?
Lori, Salley. Yeah, that's my
Hi,
mom.
Lori. It's nice to meet you. So we've talked.
Like my mom and Sean Daly's mom need to like go out and have drinks at
Have you met her yet?
Oh my God, yeah. She's
okay.
amazing.
I didn't know if you'd met her in person yet or not. She's a doll.
She's a doll.
Absolutely. That whole fan. You can tell why he's such a doll because she's such a doll, right? We talk about this a lot when you come on because one of the things I really like about you and your work is your team building. And everything you do, you go into, and from the front, even from before you've written it, once you've got your idea or your story, you're already thinking about who could be contributing to this thing.
Oh, absolutely.
As you go along, it's the way you've always worked. You came in, and I've always admired that. But beyond that, you came to Canada one day and just fell in love. Have injected yourself into the scene here, to be honest, dude, in like a kind of a subversive way, like no one else has, right? Because like you and Sean, you join this partnership and start creating magic for a couple of years. You meet Fred. I know you guys hit it off. And Becca, of course, you got some work coming out with Becca Kinsey, the wonderfully talented Becca. What is it? Is it the people? Is it the talent here?
Well, I mean, you guys are so damn friendly,
No, there's more to it than that. Come on, give me a little more. I mean,
you know what it is?
You can't work with three straight Canadians in a row and just there not be something.
So living in Boston, we don't have a big, strong, creative community here.
Did you guys know each other before Source Point?
Community.
Sorry, did you and Ken know each other beforehand? No.
We met through Source Point Press.
Okay.
And luckily enough, he lives down south of Boston. Otherwise, I'd be at his house knocking on his door every day, dropping my kids off.
Awesome.
I'll put them to work.
But we met through Source Point Press. But I mean, the Canadian, like going up there and doing Toronto Comic Con and doing Fan Expo Canada. And knowing you and knowing Sean, knowing Andrew Hahn and Bishop, it's just like this tight knit community that I think that I've thrived for, because there really isn't Ken will tell you in Boston, it's scattered. There's a few people, and I feel like we all know each other, but it's just. There's no getting together. There's no real community. So I think when I went up to Canada and I witnessed that, I love the people. And
I think it might have a little to do with the fact that I do think you have an eye for talent. And I've always stated this. I've talked to you about it, Fred, and we've talked about the reasons why and the history and the legacy and the education. But not only does this area, Southern Ontario, have one of the tightest knit communities, it's got one of the most talented. It's got one of the most educated. It's got one of the most, historic. There's a huge legacy all the way through it. And I don't know, it seems like you just spotted something there and slid right in, man.
Because you introduced me to Becca, and I read her book, and I met her. We talked at the bar Saturday night. And I could tell she's going places. This girl has that writer, it's that singer-songwriter talent. And then like a year later, she's nominated for a Schuster. She won the Schuster.
Did she win? I don't know if they've been announced yet. I know she was nominated.
She's nominated though. So I couldn't be more proud of her. Like she's got that, that Sean Daly type work ethic, she's got her own style and she's really receptive to, feedback. And I think that maybe that's what it is. Like, cause I think in the comic book community is a lot of people want feedback, but they're, they have a hard time sometimes taking it. And, the people like, the Sean Dalys, the Beccas, they're like, when they're asking for feedback, like they don't want somebody to blow smoke up their ass. Like they want to know, like, tell me what sucks about it. Like, because I want to fix that. And I remember when I started doing salvagers, I had no idea how to write comic books. So I would give it to people and be like, the people like, oh my God, that's awesome. That's Marvel quality. And I'm like, I know it's not. like you don't have to say that. Like, tell me what's wrong with it. So I don't so I can learn from those mistakes.
Right. Absolutely.
And I feel like that's, when you meet somebody like that, you want to work with them because you feel like I'm going to learn something from you. And, hopefully you'll learn something from me.
Right.
And then Fred gave, you gave me the first issue of the book, your first comic that you did. And when I'm reading it, I'm like, this is what I want Shelter Division to be like.
Yeah.
Like, I want that fast pace.
Well, segue into the SPP Fred origin story here is I love
Let's
it.
Talk to Ken, man. I talked a lot when you introduced me.
I was going to get to Ken.
Ken's sitting there. He's got beautiful art behind him. He's having a drink. Let's talk to Ken for a minute. I'm fine. I'll sit here. I'm good.
All right. You keep responding to your fan mail there. Ken, how does this happen, man? You're there, you're situated close. Do you get involved with SPP? Like, it started a Canadian connection for you as well, having put out Wretched Things with Devin Wong. So, you've got some Canada going back. What is your origin story as far as working with Bob here?
Well, first off, I got to say, it's a little awkward knowing Bob's mom is watching this because I send him mom jokes all fucking time.
All the time.
One of these days, I'm going to meet Mrs. Salley, and I'm going to have to just apologize.
I forward them right to my mom.
I met Bob through Source Point. I actually met Devin was through Comics Experience with Andy Schmidt.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's how we got into Source Point, was through their publishing deal.
Was Wretched Things a Comics Experience book?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
It was? How does that get by me? I don't think it's labeled like the rest, though. It's not branded on the front with the rest, right?
No.
It's on the back.
Okay, that's why I'm messing. I've just never noticed it. I didn't realize it came through that, which is a very cool thing. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Fred. Andy Schmidt, Marvel editor, Civil War and stuff. He's got an online comic school called the Comics Experience. And, you sign up and you pay and you take the classes. And then they have a deal with Source Point where if something happens to come out of the class that happens to be, publishable and they're interested in doing so, they send it to Source Point. Source Point puts it out. There we go. There's one of those moments.
Yeah, he just got paid.
And there's how one of them moments go, just like I was telling you. What did I cut out there at?
You just got paid for plugging.
You just got paid for
For what? Plugging the experience?
Yeah.
Comics Experience. You can find that at comicsexperience.com. Put in promo code Clark.
Well, anyways, it's a cool deal, right? It's something a lot of things haven't happened in in this way. And so then Source Point would publish it and put it out. So that happened with Wretched Things and a few other cool books. So yeah, I guess you guys just know beforehand then, because I first met you at Boston Fan Expo Boston last year or the year before.
2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah. So what? Whose idea? Bob, do you approach Ken and say, work on this book with me?
Honestly, like I was done with Shelter Division. Like the whole experience I had in the beginning of that, like I was done with it. Like I don't want to get into it, but there was just collaboration that just kind of didn't work out, and it soured me because it was the first time that I did a book where I like lost the artist, and you're thinking like, this is a very unique art style. How do I continue on with it? And I didn't really know that many. Like, this is when I just started out, so I didn't really know that many people. And so I just put it on the back burner. Like it was done in my mind. Like it was done. And then Ken, like every time we would do a convention, Ken would beg to work with me. Like he'd be like, you know, what can we do? Like I want to work with you. He actually offered me a page rate. No, but seriously, like, you know, Ken and I would like, I loved working with Ken. Like he and I, like, I feel like he's like my long lost brother. And, you know, we would just talk shop and, you know, we talked about, my dad's watching too. So hi, Dad. So we just talked and I said, I was like, I got this project Shelter Division. I told him all about it and he liked it. And, I talked to Travis and, you know, Ken did some pictures, you know, like, or some art stuff. So it's kind of showing Travis, like, it's going to go from like, not even like break. It's like going to go from a page in the, like towards the end of issue 2 to Ken's art. And, you know, and Travis is just like, who cares? Nobody cares about the art anyway. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, and you know what? I gotta say,
You're not joking about that.
He actually did say that. So, but he said, he was like, it's fine. And, you know, and I showed it to Josh too. I mean, obviously Ken's art's amazing, but it was, for me, it was the first time where I'm like, we're gonna go from like a really different style to another one, and is it gonna interrupt? Like is it going to interrupt the story?
Well, how does that feel on your side, Ken, coming into taking over something like that? And do you feel like you have to somehow match up, or are you just like, screw it, I'm going full in with my own style?
I think I held it back a little bit for some of the images that, or some of the concept stuff I've done for volume 2. I think I've pushed a little more. Some of the projects I'm working on now, I've kind of pushed my own style a little more into it. I did hold back a little bit to try and not be as abrupt. I guess.
Nice. Yeah. Cause I mean, I've probably told you this before, when we were, you know, hanging out in Boston, but yeah, Wretched Things is a beautiful book. Like the art is just, for me, it's the colors and the tones that you put together in there. It's so warm, yet, you know, evil at the same time. I'd love what you put together with that, man. I don't know if
Devin, I always tell Devin all the time, he could have made that a prose book. If you actually read the script for that book, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Devin's an amazing writer.
Oh yeah, the book all around is fantastic. I mean, he won the prizes that he won, you know, the Top Cow prizes for a reason, and the book is fantastic. And
something Bob can't say.
You know, and if anybody wants them, I've got a whole bunch. Because we were supposed to sell a whole bunch at the Comic-Con. That didn't happen last March. So that box is still sitting on my shelf, which is, I see you didn't respond to that private message I sent you, Bob, the other day.
Which one was that?
Notice that? Because, Bob, you put that post up about Ogre being
Ogre sold out.
And they're all like, yeah.
What's funny though, and I meant to talk to you. So Travis told me that it was sold out. And I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. He goes, yeah, he's like, I mean, I know I have a box and I just can't find it. And then you messaged me that. And I said to Travis, I was like, I think I know where your missing box is.
I don't know if it's his box, because I had like several boxes at one point. Like I've had Ogre way before last March, like needing it for Toronto Comic-Con. I've had Ogre since it came out. I have salvagers. I have pretty much because, well, you come here. And the people know you, and you've actually built a fan base here now. So your books are actually, you know, known and movable. So I often get many of them, right? It was Greg Wright that screwed us over because he couldn't come to the one show.
Greg Wright screws people over daily.
Greg sell. It doesn't matter what show, where it is, when it's happening, how it's happening. Greg Wright is going to sell out his comic books. Like it's just gonna happen, and we don't know why. We can't figure it out. But Greg Wright, just I don't know. There's something there, and you can attest to this, Bob. I know you can.
Oh yeah.
There's something special. So they sent me like 2 boxes worth of Greg Wright's shit, and I have so much of it. And then he couldn't make it to this show. So I've got, if anybody out there wants some really highly discounted full on Greg Wright packages, please let me know. And we'll see what we can do to hook you up. I don't have a box worth, but you know,
hold on to them because we're redoing the book.
You know, and wretched
putting
things
in a
too.
short story.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah,
when
that's
they
exciting.
distribute it through Simon and Schuster, it's going to be a brand new book.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. We'll get to that.
Get Fred. We need. I want to hear Fred's
Fred
voice.
needs to get involved.
Yeah,
Okay,
Fred's
either way, I've
over there
also
feeling
just
like,
let me
why did I
say
even
I've
join?
also got a whole bunch of wretched things. People hearing us talk about it. And anybody in Canada who wants to save on shipping, because these days cross border is expensive. Don't forget, I've always got the Source Point North warehouse here. So if you want to get things at a cheaper price, let me know, and we'll hook it up. Now, Fred, I've done what I can. See, what happened was I went and I met Travis and got to know Travis in Michigan, and I started right away. I was like, I fell in love with Source Point. I understood what they were doing. I spent the night talking to Josh, my very first night there, Josh Werner, and I got it. And I was like, oh my God, this is everything we need to have back home. This is exactly what back home is missing. And I just started bugging Travis. I was like, come to Toronto, come to Toronto, come to Toronto. Finally, he was like, oh, come to Toronto. So they came out to do a show, and it went pretty well. You know, and it grew over the 4 or 5 years or whatever to where Source Point, you know, is a presence here at shows now, and the Canadian content within its creators, the stable has gotten huge. And you know, it all came down to that. It was almost like a moment when Sean Daly and Travis McIntyre met each other. It was like a cartoon moment of like hearts like just bubbling out of Travis's eyes. And as I saw it, as he was looking at his work and stuff and just talking to him, I could just be like, this is it. This is my, you know, golden goose. This is what is going to make everything I ever want to see. And, you know, it went well. So, you know, but that was all hookups, and I've introduced and schmoozed. Fred was the least I've had to do probably with any kind of Canadian Source Point connection. Because I remember, Fred, we had one conversation. You were like, you're hanging out with Source Point. I was like, yeah. He's like, could you just introduce me? I was like, yep. And I did. And that was it. And then you handled everything from then on. And I kind of saw it in your eyes too, man. I have a feeling that from the second you, you know, met Source Point and saw what Travis and them were laying down, you kind of dug it yourself. Yeah.
Dude, this is like the 3rd thing that I've done with Source Point, but it's the first one that looks like it's actually going to happen. It's like, so
Well, I don't know.
let's fingers crossed.
As
So
long as it doesn't get on a freighter from China.
I was supposed to do a book with Sean, but Sean's problem, he's like, when you talk about like Canadians being too nice, Sean was, we did the pitch when he wasn't super busy, but then when we were greenlit to do the book, he was super busy, so he couldn't do it, and then he had to back away, which is awesome when somebody is like straight up and they say, I can't do it, I'm sorry. How can you get mad at someone when they say that? It's like, that's life.
Right. Fuck. Stupid internet.
And I was very sad. And
that was a gorgeous book.
Okay, and this is the wild thing. Kyle, the artist on that, who I'm still super tight with, great guy. There were just issues that happened. He just dropped a cover for Batman for DC.
Yeah.
That Batman cover he dropped, oh my God. And then he did that book, Indigenous Voices with Marvel.
Yeah.
Like, fantastic. And he's doing a cover for me for a book I got coming out with Image that we don't want to talk about right now, but I'm just saying it's coming. Kyle's going to do a cover for it, and it's beauty. So when Bob contacted me last summer and he goes, I want to work on you with something, I'm like, I have to do this because this is the 3rd time's a charm. It has to happen this time. So what do you want to do? We start talking about Shelter Division, and I was in the middle of doing...
That was a great conversation too. Because I was like, I know that I want to work with this guy. After we had the phone call that we had
You
I
were
got
on your
off and I was
rower.
like, that's it. I'm like, that was better. It was a better conversation than I ever expected to have about a collaboration like this.
You just got off his rowing machine and he sounded sweaty. He sounded sweaty in the conversation.
It's true.
It was intense. So we talked about it and I liked the concept. The thing that I liked the most, the main character Emmerich being immortal, it gives me a chance to like play with like historical stuff. And that's like my jam. And my favorite IP, like my dream IP to write is Highlander. I think I said that immediately.
We
Highlander.
did. We talked about that. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
me too.
Oh my God. That has
I
always
met
been.
Adrian Paul once at a grocery store. It was one of the greatest moments of my life.
Oh my God.
And he was like, you could tell he was probably on something and didn't want to talk to 21-year-old me who was also on something. Was very excited to meet Adrian Paul.
that was always my dream too. I thought I wanted to remake Highlander, and I had all these. When I was younger, I wanted Jude Law in the role of Connor McLeod. And I had some other theories and stuff, but yeah, what is it about that story, That's just like
it's the soundtrack. The soundtrack
Clean
brings you
soundtrack.
in.
that
Like
too. But if
Freddie
anything
Mercury singing
deserves,
that, Princess of the Universe, man. Come
if
on.
anything
it's amazing.
As soon as
deserves
that
to be
opening comes up
rebooted?
in like Madison Square Garden,
yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
wherever this thing's going, I'm on.
yeah.
I think the wrestling was so bad, he went into the arcade and cut off his own head. Who cast a French guy to play a Scottish guy? Like, who's like,
Yeah.
who does? And then
And the
they got
Scottish
one
guy to
Scottish
play
guy
the-
playing an Egyptian who's actually Spanish. It's the worst casting ever. Like, it's the worst casting you're ever gonna see.
I
But
always
yeah,
thought
like,
it'd be a big good reboot though, because nowadays, just with the tech, like you could have it so much more sweepingly global and historic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would be
Totally.
like, yeah, crazy cool.
But we talked about it, and then it kind of sat on the back burner, which is me, because I was doing like my big audio drama last year, like, and that was like my make busy project. So I did that, like, that Star Wars audio drama, which I loved doing and was super fun. And then when I had published the second last episode, and then I was messaging Bob, and we had a phone call, and then we talked all about it, and it was right, that phone call, we hammered out like in 1 hour, we hammered out the whole thing. Like the whole arc got hammered out right there. And we
Didn't I do an edible? Did
Yes.
I tell you, I was like,
You were,
Fred,
and that's
I'm on
why
an
it was so
edible.
good, because I
So
was
we
like,
only
I'll
have
tell
like
him what
maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes until I'm talking total nonsense.
No, I was like, I'll sell you on all my ridiculous ideas at the end of the call, and you'll agree to them, and you'll think they're amazing, and then we'll do them. And so we had it all like mapped out, and then I dove into it with like, I wanted to get it done like as soon as I had the idea, and we hammered it all out, and it was all broken down. And then Ken said he wanted two things. He said he wanted two things in the story, and I was like,
want
okay.
two things.
I want two things. And he goes, I want somebody to jump out of a plane.
No,
Okay.
he wanted Biggs to jump
Hey,
out of the
Bigfoot coming out of a plane.
Well, it's there.
It's there.
And then he goes, and
Sure.
I want a motorcycle chase. And I'm like, and so then I was like, I wrote back to Bob and I go, so he wants a motorcycle chase? And he goes, he wants a motorcycle chase. I'm like, that's the most comic book request ever. I'm down. Can I like go full on with it? He goes, go full on with it. So the motorcycle chase to me would eat up half of a movie's budget if Michael Bay did this motorcycle. Like, that's the money shot right there. It incorporates a bunch of like, because I used to play Heroes Unlimited, like the spy role-playing game all the time. Like, not spy superheroes, but I'd always make these spy guys with these cool gadgets. So there's some cool like James Bond. You want to see a secret government agency with alien technology? This is what they would have. So we wrote some, I think it's pretty rad. I don't know if you guys have gotten to like the 3rd and 4th issue scripts, but they're all in the Googles, man. You can get those.
It sounds like you guys had a blast making this. Pat Kawula says he wants to work with you too, Bob Salley.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys had a blast doing this, eh?
Well, so, working with Ken, so that's kind of like this, working with Ken is just fun. Like I told you, like Ken will sit there, like before we started, like I'll sit there, I'll be working, and then I see a Ken Perry when you get like, and it's just like image attached. And I'm like, I'm gonna get a page here, and it's a meme, or and it's just like, but then like the back and forth, and like if I don't talk to Ken, like if we don't talk for like a couple days, like Ken will just message me, and he's just like, what's going on, like or like how's Bob, and you're just like, this guy, like, and you're like, you laugh, but we go on, like it's great. So then we bring Fred into the mix, and we create a new chat where it's me, Ken, and Fred. And I mean, obviously, like I can't say any of the things that we talked about there, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, Fred's either gonna quit or he's gonna be like, oh, this is the best. And of course, he was just like, this is great. So you just knew, you're like, all right, we got a third, and we're like, God forbid, we got to bring, HDE, who does the lettering, who's like, this really like proper Brit in the UK. If we brought him in, he would quit.
You're so international, Bob.
Well, it's it started with salvagers. I had a French colorist, a British letterer, and my artist was in Los Angeles.
It's weird because going back to lost Chinese shipments and stuff, and all the worry that went down when this whole thing started, and one of the industries that has somehow flourished yet had all these explosions happen within it that have changed the game in so many ways. It's the comic book industry, like money's flowing, people want their entertainment and stuff. Yet at the same time, things like the distribution, troubles that were happening.
A year ago, Diamond stopped filling orders.
Right? Like, yeah.
Like that's like, yeah. I mean, I think like people, like some of us in the industry were like, it's over. Like,
yeah,
it's done. Diamond stopped filling orders. It's over.
Total collapse of the industry, or we thought anyway.
Right. But actually it turned out to be a great thing, because now you have a lot more opportunity and a lot more distribution channels. So
yeah, it's crazy. And speaking of that, huge news. Simon and Schuster. Simon and Schuster Publishing, a new deal. Source Point Press, graphic novels and prose books are now going to be distributed by Simon and Schuster. That means globally, anywhere that you can pretty much buy books. This is hugely exciting. They're going to be everywhere. Like, it seems like an idea that should have happened by now. Like, I know that Simon and Schuster do put out other kind of materials, not just straight up novels all the time.
It's all part of the progress. I mean, I think you've been there from the beginning. Like, Source Point Press has just been amazingly consistently progressing and leveling up every year, and I can't think of like another thing that would have been more fitting than this Simon and Schuster deal. And to be a writer and to be a creator that has a book where you can, like, the first thing about, just to go sidetrack here, the first thing about like becoming like a comic book writer and self-publishing is like, okay, I'm going to self-publish this book. I'm going to pay my money to make it. And then I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to sell it by hand. I'm going to go into comic book shops and I'm going to be like, can I give you 5 books to sell? And a lot of the comic book shops are like, no, like not even like to take it for free. And then to like find a publisher where you're like, okay, like this publisher is going to, 50 to 60 Comic Cons a year. So that's like a new way of distributing my book. And then for that, like that comic book publisher to be like, work out a deal with Diamond, where you're like, okay, now people can buy my book at any comic book shop. Yeah. And now you can be like, no, you can buy my comic book at any bookstore, comic shop. Like, if you want my book, there's no excuse for you not to be able to get it. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Like going in, and going into like a Barnes and Noble with my kids, like, monthly, and like someday to be able to walk over to a shelf and be like, my book is on this shelf at Barnes and Noble, or, it's a really amazing feeling as a creator that you're with a publisher that keeps continuously climbing up that ladder in this industry.
Well, sharing the story is always the purpose, it seems to be. And that's how SourcePoint started. SourcePoint started because Josh Werner had some stuff he wanted to put out, and a few other people had some stuff they wanted to put out. Rampant, which is still available out there, kids. Rampant is a prose book by Josh Werner. If anybody wants to check it out, it's amazing.
What's the elevator pitch?
Oh my God. You know what? To be honest, it's been 5 years since I read it and I can't remember. It's werewolves.
My name's Simon
Yes,
Schuster.
werewolves.
I want that pitch.
It's werewolves. It's a werewolf novel, like, or, you know, and yeah, that's all I can give you right now. There's your pitch. Werewolves. But he wanted to put this out, and you know, Trico wanted to do something, and Travis was doing Up the River with Steven Sherrar, and they just needed, you know, something to be how they were going to self-publish this, and they called that SourcePoint Press. And you know, they had that going, and then Josh met Travis, and Josh was so impressed by Travis, he was like, come help, you know, asked him to help with SourcePoint and stuff. Because, you know, Travis wasn't there at the founding. There was the founding, and then Travis stepped in very shortly after that. But yeah, it was just an excuse for them to put out the books that they wanted to at the time. And we're frozen again, aren't we?
Oh wait, he is frozen.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, so it's just
Oh yeah, he's
yeah, we're good. Wasn't sure. You do have to look for a minute and be like, no, that's okay.
no, you were telling him a compelling story, so I think we were all just.
Where'd I get frozen at?
Travis stepped in.
So Travis stepped in, and it was just they just needed a reason and a name to put their books out under. They were just self-publishing, like anybody putting their own books out. So they, you know, they called it SourcePoint Press. And from there, it just started growing to David Hayes stepping in with the Rot and a few other things, and just doing shows. So it was like two Michigan, because they had worked at the Michigan Comics Collective. They all met through, and that was going on, which was kind of like a Toronto Comics anthology thing, where, you know, it's just Michigan creators putting out Michigan stories in this anthology. And out of that kind of, you know, people who were involved with that birth SourcePoint Press. But it all just came out of an excuse and the need for some sort of name to put on their books to self-publish. And ever since then, it's been, how do we get it out more? How do we get it out more? How do we get it in more hands? How do we get it in more hands? And that has been it. And that's why it's been, like you said 50 to 60, but I think the last year before this shut down, I think it was like 71 shows or 74 shows or something ridiculous. And that's insane. So yeah, and then it steps up, and now here's this whole other platform that's just going to blow up the graphic novels. They're going to start getting around like just everywhere. And it's crazy to think, from, you know, a little 6-foot table at a Comic-Con in Novi, Michigan. You know, now this entity has spawned.
It is definitely. I mean, like, they were at C2E2. That was the last show they did in 2020. And they had that humongous 360 booth, and it was right at the entrance. You know, so to go, like, not only are you saying, like, going from like a 6-foot table that's like in the back corner to being like in a 360 booth right at the front gates.
Yeah, at C2E2. It's pretty crazy. Were you going to say something there, Ken?
I think it's just crazy how SourcePoint has been able to survive the whole COVID world. Everybody took a dip. Everybody took a hit. I mean, DC laid off people, and SourcePoint is still going, still putting out books. I mean, not to kiss their ass, but those guys did a good job keeping the company alive.
Can I tell you why? And I'm not speaking for Travis McIntyre. He has told me this story enough, and I've heard him tell it live enough that I know this is how he would explain it. And I think this is a big part of it, is that Travis McIntyre doesn't give a fuck, because Travis McIntyre knows that he, you know, has a good background, a good life. He's got a whole other career that's good. You know, he's got a family and a life, and he's had no struggles in life. You know, he's had no problems with, you know, education or this and that. He's had a pretty cushy life, as he'll tell you, overall. And that has led to all of this since the beginning being like a plus. Do you know what I mean? On top of what he's already got that's good. So he will just toss anything at anything if he even has an inkling that it could work. So, you know, I mean, he's to get Rotten Tail made. You know, I heard him tell this. I don't think it's okay. I tell something that he's told at a panel, right? So we did this Rotten Tail panel at C2E2, and he explained, you know, the whole deal. And how did he get Rotten Tail made? He mortgaged his house, didn't tell his wife, just mortgaged his house and said, fuck it, and threw it at it. And things worked out in the end. But, you know, that's the attitude that SourcePoint, you know, thrives through. Just fearlessness.
My wife would murder me. Like,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was sitting there at this panel and he's telling this story and I stopped him and I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Like anybody would be killed for this. You know what I mean? But
and also to interrupt you, like that movie right now, you can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Yes, you can go watch it.
Right.
It's brilliant. And don't watch it with the kids, but watch it.
Yeah.
It's fun. Definitely a fun one.
It's that whole, but you know, the whole point is though, it's that attitude of fearlessness of like, just being willing to try things that have never been tried. And they basically were at a point where it was like, okay, we were supposed to do all these Comic-Cons. What are we going to do? Because you got all this money set aside, right? They've got the budget done. They've got, you know, Matthew Knoll, brilliant financial wonder man, has come on and done a lot of great things as well. So things are in a good spot where, you know, what are we going to do? Well, I guess you take all that Comic-Con money and you sink it into existing online, I suppose, right? And they instantly went to, you know, dealing with, you know, stores one-on-one and starting to build relationships and giving deals. What was the deal in the beginning, Bob?
They were giving books away to stores.
They were giving books and money basically away to the shops.
They were giving packages of books to comic shops for comic shops to sell.
Yes, but they
because
were
comic
also
shops weren't getting anything from DC or Marvel.
Yeah.
So basically, comic shops were about to go under because they're like, we have nothing new.
Yeah.
And SourcePoint Press started giving them books every week or every month, like so they'd have something new to give to people.
Yeah.
And
there was also other
huge.
things. There was like some sort of discount on something, but yeah, there was lots of stuff.
So they went. I mean, they contacted all of us creators because obviously, like what they sell goes. Like, what they have is like a part of our royalties, and they were basically saying like, will you be a part of this? And I don't think anybody said no.
Oh no!
Like everybody was like, yeah. Like I mean, I think like Ogre's issue #1 is sold out because of this, and I couldn't be happier about that. You know, like I'm glad that, you know, one of my books could go to be a part of like a package that was helping comic shops stay alive during COVID.
Yeah. It's amazing that Travis's first thought too, and Josh and everybody's first thought was to, you know, help the shops. It wasn't even like, what are we going to do? It's like, oh my God, what is the industry going to do?
Right.
And that was, you know, their first thoughts and they've dealt with it and things have worked out. And, you know, they worked on taking that Comic-Con feel because it's always been the creators out there on the front lines where you can meet them and interact with them that SourcePoint is built on, everybody doing the grind and, you know, basically did their best to take that and put it online. And there's been lots of faces. Bob, you've been a big part of that. You know what I mean? You've been like, you know, you've taken a lot of social media type reins.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
You know, and, it's good though, you know, and now you got pros on board like Fred here, who's, you know, he's working on his 3 Instagrams while he's doing this or that. It's like amazing though, Fred.
When I first
see
started
you
collaborating with Fred, I immediately was like, I can't wait to get Ken involved in these conversations.
Right.
We got to do a phone call where we go over the script. Actually, we got to do that. Like where we sit down, we go over everything. There's a lot of jokes that I made in there, and I don't know if like you're gonna be like, is he serious when he says I'm like, no, I'm like I'm just getting into the descriptions here because I'm telling the story to the artist. The artist is telling the story to the reader. So I'm using jokes. I gotta.
What was the one thing that you said where I like corrected it, and I was like, well, I don't think that she would be feeling down at this.
Yeah. Okay, there's a scene where this is what I'm talking about. I don't because it might happen again. So we introduced a new character in, I think it's in the second issue this scene happens, and she's like this woman from the outback. She's like a tracker, and like she's badass, you know, she's awesome. And so where she's super rough around the edges, like popping a big beer for breakfast, the guy she's with is like kind of like he's professional, prim and proper. And so they're talking and she's just crushing beers. And I'm like, this chick is balling. And that's what I put in the script. And then Bob leaves a note. He's like, I think that she's very tough. I don't think she would be crying about this. I'm like, no. Like, she's balling, like BALLIN apostrophe. She's balling. You're like, she's balling.
I was like, all right, now I know what I'm gonna get here. Like,
yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. We gotta go over those because there might be more things like that in there.
Oh man.
yeah, that was funny. I'll never forget that.
This sounds like it's been a blast, guys. You know, doing this.
Plus, I was
We're just waiting for Ken to start drawing.
Yeah, when are you drawing?
Start drawing, Ken.
The first thing that Ken drew though for it was a test page of a Biggs falling out of the sky and a motorcycle scene on a single sheet. So I was like, no, like tell me that he can't wait to draw these two things that he asked for.
Those are actually in issue 3, so that could be the cover for issue 3.
Yeah.
So
you're done, Ken. You already did that.
So what's happened then? Because Kickstarter's done, right?
Yeah.
So now you just got to get off your asses and put everything together, and
It's scripted, man.
Yeah, it's scripted. So Ken's gonna start working on issue 1. I think issue 2. I think we're as far into we just got to go through issue 3 and 4, and then I don't know. It's up to the great and powerful Wizard of McIntyre to decide what we want to do. If we want to continue doing this through Kickstarter, or if we want to distribute it through Diamond. But either way, it will be put out.
I think it probably will be. I think just for I think it'll probably be put out as far as you can probably put it out. Ken, you're doing everything. You're penciling, you're inking, you're coloring, you're doing the whole shebang.
No, I don't color. I don't know.
So who else is involved with the team? Who's on the letters? Who's on the colors, Bob? Who's on the edits? What's going on here?
So right now, I mean, I think I don't think I have anybody editing it. I think
what?
we're just
Mister, you specifically.
I know. I know. We did a whole show.
You messaged me and said, "Hey Jay, let's do an episode all about the importance of hiring an editor." And you and I sat down together and did an entire episode.
Well, so the thing, the way I look at it is, I'm like, I feel like having Fred and myself and Ken. I feel like if we brought an editor in, it would be bad. Like if I brought Drina in to edit what we're doing,
he might be watching. Be
like
careful.
The whole thing, I think everybody would be like, "Oh, like we got rules now. Fuck this."
I kind of like that. I'm feeling that vibe too.
So I feel like not bringing an editor in is this book. It's probably gonna have some rough edges, but you're gonna get the wild. You're gonna be like, "This probably was a lot of fun to put together."
It's very tight. Like, so it's a tight book. Like there's no slowing down because there's 2 stories going on at the same time. I'm not saying anything else, but there's 2 stories, but there's a lot of symmetry and parable going on. And there's
really good.
The opening line, like you put it at the top of the script, you can't escape your past. And it's just like, life is cyclical, man. No matter how long your life is, it cycles. And that plays out. There's some really cool page layouts that I'm stoked to see. So I don't want to say anything else, but I'm really stoked to see it. Let's put it that way.
Can't wait to let you down.
Whatever. You're going to do great, man. I'm stoked. I've seen your art. It's awesome.
I haven't seen a group of guys have this much fun making something since the Cauldron Boys. And all the guys over there, Ricky and Shane, you know all those boys. They have a blast. Same thing. They're kind of, there's no rules. Like, you know, they of course they have whatever rules. They want it to be good and quality, but
Shane
they have so much fun.
Stoneder than you.
Say
I was
again?
just going to say Shane sounds stoneder than you, but he is much more sober. That's the wild thing. Like, think about the way Shane Heron talks. He's hey, yeah, well,
Yeah, he does. Yeah, yeah. But that's he's very easy. He's like a Sunday morning for sure. But that's what I love about Shane. You know, it's yeah. I haven't seen him in so long. Shane, I don't know if you're out there, but I miss you, buddy. When's the last time you saw Shane?
he brought me a pie to work because I gave him
Oh,
a bunch of peppers from my garden.
nice.
Yeah, we made an exchange. He made me a pie,
Such a
and then I gave him
Canadian-
peppers.
You know how the raid boys go on their retreat?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're fancy.
It was that weekend. I was out in Toronto with Sam Noir. We were hanging out. We were hanging out at Raid, just chilling and doing some stuff. And it was that was the weekend everybody was getting their COVID tests to be able to go up to the cottage. Yeah, and it was crazy. Like Marcus and everybody. Yeah, so it was weird. But I was hanging out with Shane and Sam that weekend, and so sad because you know Ramon puts all this hard ass work into making Raid such a beautiful place, and right when it's just pretty much ready to open and go gangbusters, boom, here comes the pandemic. What's that? What are you showing that for? That did you just get that today? That just came out.
I did just get that today. Our own Dirk Manning's watching right now.
Oh, is he? Is he?
And,
Oh, there he is.
yeah.
Writes a hell of a book intro too. Dirk's coming on the show soon, aren't you, Dirk? Dirk, can I mention right now what's happening, or is that non-announceable yet? If you're still watching, tell me in the comments.
Oh, Dirk will never let you announce anything.
He
Everything.
might.
Even when he's allowed to announce it.
I just
feel
don't know
like
if
he's
it's
like-
100% yet. Like it's 100% for me and him, but there's another guest that a surprise, perhaps individual who I can't mention till I'm given the absolute that I can. But I think I might be able to. So Dirk, tell me right now if you're still watching.
You're still watching.
What's going on? Nice. What does that tell me? What does
He
nice
was- I
tell me?
think
I hope
he's
there's
on-
some
I think
sort of
he's on
lag
delay.
going on here. I had some do it. All right. March 29th, I believe. Tony Schiavone. Is it Schiavone? Schiavone. Is it Schiavone? I'm blanking out. I'm
I
having
think it's Siobhan.
it's Schiavone? Is it Schiavone? Nay? No. Yeah, it's
E
Tony
silent?
Schiavone, right? The wrestling figure. He's been like a commentator and involved in the wrestling business. I remember seeing him comment back in WCW days. He's part of AEW now. But Butts in Seats is his own autobiographical graphic novel that they're going to be putting out, written by Mr. Dirk Manning and penciled by a whole bunch of people. There's like 6 or 7 artists on it or something like that. So that's pretty exciting. So they're going to come on the show and we're going to do it up. And that's really cool. We'll talk about the wrestling biz and the comic biz because he's a big comic fan too. So he wanted to, put his life in comics. Shivani. It is an E. I thought there might be. Shiv on E. Tony Schiavone. I thought so because it was Tony and a Schiavone, and I knew it was an E and an E. You know what I mean? So that works out well. But I'm very excited to meet Mr. Schiavone and have Dirk back to the show. So we're going to do that. Actually, you know what? Can I tell you something here? I got an insane lineup coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'll mention. I got Peter Bro. I got Richard Davis. I got Graham Miserak. Kids, Yuki versus Panda. Now with Source Point Press. That's my proudest schmooze of all the schmoozes I've ever schmoozed, was bringing forth the relationship between Source Point Press and Yuki versus Panda. I came across Graham when I started this podcast 10 fucking years ago. Okay. And he was early on around and met him at shows, old GTA cons and stuff back in like 2013, 14. And he asked me for a quote, or maybe just took a quote from one of the shows. And I remember going and I saw his banner at the shows and it had a quote from An Elegant Weapon on his fucking banner. And I couldn't even believe it. And the quote was, not at all what I was fucking expecting. But he had like the fucking, with the asterisks and everything. Or something like that. Not at all what I fucking expected or something like that. Because it wasn't what I expected. But I love that book and I'm so proud and happy that this is happening. They're also making a cartoon, an animated version of Yuki versus Panda. I can't remember who's doing it. But that's crazy. And Source Point's also got Franklin and Ghost, which is going to be an animated show unto itself. When are they going to make a cartoon out of your shit, Bob?
I mean, I keep raising my hand.
I'm sure you do.
Keep giving Bob shit because he brought me on telling me there was Netflix money in this.
I told him that. I was like, listen, I'm like, this thing's got Netflix written all over it.
Oh, something crazy is gonna happen. Like Travis is probably gonna want to take Fred's Star Wars audio dramas and start laying them down on wax or some shit, and then they're gonna.
I got
have
a
it even
message from
bigger.
Disney about those, by the way.
Ooh. Well,
So
hey,
it's-
let me
no,
know when
it's-
let me know when the round of auditions for the
No,
next
not like
chapter are.
it's gonna
Fred.
happen and Disney's buying it. It's just like Disney made clear to mention they were very aware that I was doing it.
Wow.
They're, but it, yeah. So
That's like when you know, in The Godfather, when he's like, listen, I know you're selling
Yeah,
drugs
you
in my neighborhood. We're not down with it. Like Disney's like, we see what you're doing, and we want you to know that we see what you're doing.
yeah, it was pretty much. They're very good with their license because they can tell that it's like a labor of love, and it's very much like, don't go selling things. Don't go.
Yes, right.
Merch.
There's a toy store in Hamilton here, and you know, I won't mention names and stuff, but a great shop, wonderful shop. And they years ago were having just some kind of little sale or some kind of contest or something on like their website. And this was like decade plus ago, and they had an image of Boba Fett on there, just for like a little contest. It was nothing like, you know, they were trying to blow up or anything. And an email was sent from Lucasfilm asking him to remove it from the website and stuff.
Well, my interaction has been very positive, and I think that like they're so used to it. I mean, Daniel Warren Johnson doing Green Leader, which I don't know if you've read Green Leader, but it's like, buddy, it's amazing. Okay, anybody that hasn't read it, the context, remember the scene in Return of the Jedi where the A-Wing like suicides into the bridge?
Yeah.
Like, see the camera effect there? Right into the bridge. He did a comic all about that pilot and the events leading up to that whole event. And it's about 12 pages, and it's Danny Warren Johnson. So it's really good. Like, it's really, really good. I encourage everybody, if you can find it, snag a copy. I mean, he's doing it, and everyone's aware that people love Star Wars. And as long as you're embracing the love of the product, they're super good about that stuff. So, yeah.
So
Clearly,
that's
you
nice.
love it too. I can see your lightsabers in the background.
That's just a couple. Yeah. I have 86. I
Jesus.
own 86 lightsabers, and I can only fit 4 on my wall with my other shit. But you know, we'll deal with that somehow in the future. And that's a long old school collection. You want to see? Actually, you know what? I'll show you something. I know.
Shouldn't have mentioned the lightsabers.
No, I'm just going to show you one of my prized lightsabers. I shouldn't be picking this up. This is a 1981 Droids cartoon lightsaber, still in
Ooh.
package. Most of them came purple, and this one is green. So this is one of my prizes. Just thought I'd share that with you kids. People always are like, you know, they think it's like my like crazy replica ones, the ones that, you know, work and light up and they look like they're real and stuff, and people think are like the prizes of the collection. But no, it's this guy right here. So, you know, just thought I'd share that because lightsabers are awesome. Okay, that's wonderful comic book talk. Fred, if you don't mind, there is something I gotta ask you.
Uh-oh. Okay,
Because you know, it's nothing crazy, but you know, I've always admired your rate of productivity in this world, considering
Yeah.
all the things you have that go on in your life, you know, and you know, all the things that are on your plate and on your schedule. When you do, like, you know, when we see you make like a video for Instagram, and
Yeah.
it'll be like you just talking about some fan mail you got or a question or something.
Oh,
like that.
listener complaint theater.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And just for anybody, sorry, in the States who doesn't know, Fred is on the radio here, and you know, he's yapping away on there. I'm just like curious about, because you're doing that all the time, and then fitness videos, and then your actual job is on air. So are you so comfortable with the scheduling that you can literally bust off one of those during like a commercial?
Yeah.
Or is it the end of your shift? Or how do you do all of this without ever seeming stressed or frantic about it?
If you front load, you don't have to worry about it when it's happening. So the best advice I ever got in life was from my very first radio boss. His name's Darren Harvey. He works at K-Rock in Canterville, Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And he told me, always know where you're going next. And that's it. So if you always know what's coming next, even if what you're doing completely implodes, throw it away, go to the next thing. So if you always know where you're going next, you don't have anything to worry about. So when I'm in the studio, when I get to work, I prep, I get all my content ready, I map everything out. I don't ever it's not like I have to stick to my prep, like where it's going to be, but as long as it's there, it's like a safety net. I know what I need to do. So then once that's done, and sometimes it's easier than other days, depending on the news cycle and how much ridiculous things are happening. Lately, it's been very serious, which has made it hard because no one wants to be serious when things are super serious. But then once that's done, I map out all the times where I'll be able to record videos and do all that stuff. So it's really just making sure I know where I'm going ahead. Listener complaint theater, which you brought up, is where I interact with somebody sending hate mail, which happens all the time. But it's not very often that you get good, you can fish kind of hate mail where they don't know that you're just playing with them. Yeah. And so you fish. And I haven't gotten a really good one since November, I don't think. But I just read the email Shakespearean style. And I can't, because I have to yell it. I can't do it because my kids are upstairs asleep. But it's very involved and it's all in one take. And it to me is very therapeutic. It's because it's always really enjoyable because they always, number one, they always think they're smarter than you. Right. Always. Number two, they don't know when to stop swinging, and that's the best. That's when it's fun. They're just right. And they're I have been listening since 1978, and you are the worst radio announcer I've ever heard. I'm that's 1970. That is saying something. Thank you. I feel like I've done something. Well, you shouldn't. You should quit. I can't. I have a mortgage. I don't know what bank. And it's okay, we get it. You don't like me very much.
Well, it was a trip, man. We talked about this one another time you were on the show, how you are unique. It's not like you're like this guy, you're not hey, Q107.
But I've worked for guys you want to hear a great story?
Yeah, but hold on. I was just saying there that though, because I remember, when you first came on the radio.
You hated me when I started. You said you hated me when I started.
No, I didn't hate you. I was just weirded out by you. I was just I don't get this. It's just, you didn't sound like a guy who'd be on the radio, but you just keep listening and eventually you get to know who you are and you're like, oh, okay. But it's just, you're so unique. It's different, I didn't hate it
when
though.
I started in the 90s.
I hate you now that I've gotten to know you, but
in the 90s, it was still the big booming voice. Hey,
right. Oh shit.
You can do overnights from 2 a.m. to 5. That's all you get to do because your voice is terrible. So that's what you do now. So that was that was how I started. There's a guy, Brother Jake, who was one of those hey, brother. And it's he talked like that, real life. And when I met him, I was oh my God, you're Brother Jake. I sure am, Brother Jake. And it's oh, cool. What's it like having, gone through puberty? Don't worry, kid. Keep smoking doobies and drinking coffee. You'll sound like this one day soon. Sure.
I think it was just a matter of you really are conditioned. You know what I mean? I felt like I was so conditioned to what a radio guy should sound like that, it was weird. It was just hard to get used to. But then you started talking nerd shit right away. Mm-hmm. And I remember that because that's what was cool is that you came on the edge and you instantly started talking comic books and stuff.
That's how I met Adam Gorham.
Okay.
I was doing a break about Blackest Night at the time, and he messaged me hey, you like comics? I just did a comic. It's called Vampire Conspiracy. That's a true story. Adam Gorham's